All right, folks, this is Sean with Sean's Tech Blog. I'm here with Jennifer Peters. We're doing an open to work promo. And if you know about me, I'm in the space of tech, cybersecurity, and gaming, where I reach out to guest speakers and career advisors in that space. But today we're about open to work. And so I'm going to interview Jennifer Peters today. So let's start with the questions. Jennifer Peters, let's start with that first question they got. Tell me about yourself.
The scary one. I've been an implementation specialist for over 5.5 years, almost 6 years, software service platform. And I've also got a background in education where I taught writing and composition to college students for over 3 years.
Nice. All right, let's go into what roles are you targeting?
I am looking for a position with a software company or that's implementation and onboarding, like I was doing at my last job. It could include, there's some companies divide the implementation, some companies include the onboarding and training. And I think I'm best at the onboarding and training part, but I'm really good at the implementation too.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna kind of circle back kind of in your career story. So let's start where you started and where you're headed.
So my career story, I have always had one foot in education and the other foot in technology. So I've always gone back and forth. I was a professor, and then I was in technology as tech support, did professor again, took some time off, came back as a professor, and then went back into technology. So what I'm looking for now is something where I can be, I would love to find an EdTech company where I can help students especially who might struggle, help the schools help their students. And there's some great softwares now that do exactly that. Those are the type of companies I'm looking for.
Okay. And then what kind of problem have you solved or would solve for employers?
So if we're looking at an EdTech company, especially in higher education and K-12, the thing that they need is adoption, and if you have seen teachers' lives in the last 10 years, they don't have time. I don't know how my kids' teachers did it. And I'm sure they were up till 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes grading stuff, taking care of things. When I was teaching I was putting in enough time. I was basically making $5 an hour, which why would you teach when you can make more, when your students are making more for you, more than you at Target. So I think that these companies that are coming up with great ideas, they're going to have to make their implementation easy and palatable for the professors or teachers to adopt them. And that's where I'm hoping to come in and be able to partner with the teachers and the company and the schools so that the teachers can catch on quick and the software can get up and running. Because if there's not adoption, then they don't have good ROI, and that's really important.
Okay. Can you share another one impact or when you're especially proud from a previous role, metrics, etc.?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that. I apologize.
If you can share with us, please, one impact or when you're especially proud of from a previous role, metrics, etc.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about adoption, and one of the things that I built in my last role was a webinar series, and that started because we were working right through COVID, and we saw a huge change in the industry where huge turnover rate. I mean, I was in a petroleum industry and convenience stores, and people are paid pretty well at those convenience stores sometimes, but high turnover rate. They're considered essential workers. So we were constantly getting retraining requests for the same companies. And, that takes time and money for both companies, both for us to retrain somebody that we just trained 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then for the companies because they kept, having to hire. So I suggested we start doing webinars where we could help increase and make it more accessible, because typically it was a one-on web training. And so the webinar would open up to any of our marketers who needed training. And then once we did that, I also started looking at our support calls and looking at what is it that people don't know how to use or are underutilizing that could help them in their job. What are we getting calls about all the time, and how can we prevent some of these calls? And so I pre-planned my webinars out about 6 months based on those, the repeat calls, to try to help change what support was taking and give customers more confidence in how they were using the system.
Okay. So let's see, what kind of team or company would you thrive in next?
I would do very well in a team that we're trusted to get our work done. So somebody who's not, manager who's not a micromanager, but still is interested in their team and how they're doing. I actually am really good at finding, figuring out what I need to do and do it and stay on task. I'm a good independent learner. And if I don't know something, I tend to look it up or look for training so I can do it myself. But, somebody who gives very clear KPIs or OKRs, and, also is happy to let us run and trust us to get our job done.
Okay. And what's one thing hiring managers should know about your work? I think you were already touching on it, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, so I think that I'm a quick learner, so I'm able to catch on to something very quickly. And I also go the extra mile. If I see that, if I'm giving a webinar and I'm watching somebody's face and they look confused, I might try to book something with them later, say, hey, let's pick up on this for a one-on-one. So I try to go the extra mile and make sure that the customers, people that I'm training, are trained well so that they can adopt it. And I care about the people I'm taking care of and helping. I care about the customer.
Okay. Well, we're going to close it out here. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Let employers know how soon can you start for your next role?
Yeah, I think that, I can start immediately. I'm open immediately. And I am a quick learner. I actually learned the software that we were doing. They thought it would take me about 6 months. I learned it in 6 weeks and was able to start onboarding our customers in a much quicker timeline than they realized. And I also have the ability to do multimodal training. So when you have we've got a lot of generations right now in teaching, in universities. You've got Gen X all the way to Gen Alpha are coming in, and they all want to be trained differently. They need to learn differently. They have different learning patterns. And I have a variety of different things that I like to do and that I do well in order to help those customers learn what they need to be successful with the software they've purchased.
Nice. 6 weeks training, folks. So if you're looking out to hire someone in onboarding implementation, onboarding specialist, reach out to Jennifer Peters. So if you know someone who's hiring or you are hiring, please connect with Jennifer Peters, and you can ask me about her and I'll try to get you in contact. Let's see. I don't know. That might be possible, may not be with schedule conflicts. This has been Sean with Sean's Tech Blog interviewing Jennifer Peters. Open to work. She's ready to start immediately. So let's get her hired, folks.